Airlines and Boeing having a brutal month of March as worldwide air travel slows quite sharply. And a new report now saying that major airlines are drafting plans for a potential voluntary shutdown of virtually all passenger flights across the United States. Want to get over to Phil LeBeau in Chicago right now, who has all of the details. Phil, what's going on here?
You know, Andrew, this headline had a lot of people saying, wait, the airlines are going to shut down? That's going a bit too far. What we are hearing, and I talked with a number of airline executives last night, is that they are drawing up contingency plans. And it's easy to see why. Let's take a state like California. What if at some point the governor says, we don't want any flights coming in here? Whether or not he can legally do that is up for some debate. But if that happens, and then maybe the state of Florida does the same thing, then the state of Illinois, at some point the airlines may be faced with the realization that, well, the choice is being made for us. So contingency plans are being drawn up by a number of airlines, but it's going too far to say that they are saying, look, we're ready to shut this down. We're making plans to shut it down. That is not happening based on my conversations with airline executives, government officials over the last 24 hours. We're talking about the airline stocks looking to get a pop higher. They are requesting $50 billion from the federal government. We'll see if that goes through when the Senate votes potentially a little bit later on today. The drop in airline passenger traffic is dramatic, and this sort of gets back to what we were talking about, whether or not the hand is going to be forced on the airlines. Look at this, the number of people going through TSA checkpoints. It is down more than 50% in just the last 2 weeks. That 454,000, that is 18% of what it was on the same day last year. So basically you've got, 20% of the people who were flying last year are again flying this year. As you take a look at shares of Boeing, we're showing you this because this is a company that has net negative 28 in orders this year. Are they likely to get a positive number for the month of March when they finally report those? Maybe, maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. Good person to ask about that is the CEO, Dave Calhoun. We will be talking with him first on CNBC. You do not want to miss this interview. Coming up at 8 o'clock, we'll talk about the demand that's out there in the market for new aircrafts. Obviously, the negotiations on Capitol Hill for a $60 billion bailout package, not only for Boeing, but for the aviation industry overall, because the suppliers, that's critical. You've got to keep them functioning to keep it from collapsing. So looking forward to that interview, Andrew.
Hey, Phil, before you go, and we talked about it, I think, either earlier this week or last week, you don't know what day it is anymore, about the legal right of a state, a governor, to effectively say no planes in and out of the state or not. What does the law look like on that front?
So it comes down to this. Most airports are owned, almost all the airports are owned either by municipalities or states. Let's take O'Hare Airport. If the mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, said, I don't want any planes coming into O'Hare Airport anymore, do they own the property at O'Hare? You bet they do. Do they have federal grants, though, that have been stipulated or come with stipulations that they need to keep the airport open? Yes. And nearly every airport has taken or has federal grants right now. So it becomes a legal question. It would no doubt wind up in court. The FAA and the Trump administration would likely weigh in with their opinion that, look, we're the ones who control whether or not aircraft can go someplace. It's not up to a city or a municipality to say we don't want a particular aircraft to land. One quick note, Andrew, take a look at what's happening out in Hawaii. Hawaii has said we're going to have a 14-day quarantine for people who are flying in here. Well, that's essentially them locking down the state. And Hawaiian Airlines has dramatically, they have barely any flights going right now. Why? Who's going to fly out to Hawaii so that they can sit for 14 days in quarantine? So that's essentially the concern that a lot of airlines have in terms of our hand is going to be forced by what happens with either certain states, municipalities, et cetera.